sometimes things are just a bit off. You're not confused about what's happening. You can tell what individual things are, but collectively it just seems off. The Gone World by Tom Sweterlisch captures some of that feeling, and I mean that in a good way. Published in 2018, it's probably the best cosmic horror I've read in the last decade. It begins with a scene set in a nightmare apocalyptic future on a training mission to Earth in the year 2199. She had been warned she would see things her mind wouldn't understand. In a dead forest in winter, never-ending winter, the trees blackened from old fire and coated with ice. Several trunks toppled, a lattice of charred sticks. Climbing across the field of dead pines for hours, but her spacesuit kept her warm. A thin profile suit that allowed her a range of motion to keep moving. The spacesuit was orange, the color for trainees. This was her first excursion to a far future Earth. Everywhere she looked, in every direction, she saw the frost-blanched sky and the snowy ground crosshatched by fallen trees. There were two suns. The pale disk of the sun she knew and the garish white radiance of the phenomenon her instructor had called the white hole. This was once West Virginia. She gets lost, near panic, even sees herself, emaciated and crucified, inverted over the ice, and a white tree that really stands out to her. She is rescued by her team, in a sense at least. That other her, the crucified one, hanging there half dead with a gangrenous leg. She is saved. This is her story. And so we begin chapter 1 back and forward in 1997, where she is now NCIS agent Shannon Moss, investigating a murder. Only, it's not so simple. All the evidence points to the killer being a time traveler. I'm going to try to do this with minimal spoilers. Minimal, not zero. If you're familiar with the whole secret space program thing, you'll recognize a lot of this. The NCIS thing is partly a cover. She works for a unit within the US Navy that has exclusive control of quantum technology that not only allows for travel through interstellar space, but also time. Sort of. The present moment is the only objective reality. You can't travel to the past because it's past, over, gone. And the futures they go to are merely probabilities with a fair bit of randomness to determine which ones you get. Never exactly the same future twice. Time passes normally for the traveler, but they always return to just after the moment they left. Shannon is catching up to her mother in years. And the future is not looking good. It always ends the same. The Terminus, a white hole in the sky. Fires, freezing, people going mad, horrific bodily destruction, spewing up silver goo, real end-of-days stuff. The Terminus is a shadow that falls across the future of our species, said her instructor. Every timeline we visited ends at the Terminus, and it's moving closer. We first dated the event to 2666, but the next travelers to witness the Terminus found that it had moved closer to 2456, and the Terminus has moved closer still to 2121. You see, the Terminus is like the blade of a guillotine slicing toward us. Our Navy and its fleet have been tasked to find a way out from that shadow, and our vocation is to support the Navy. Everything I'll teach you, everything you'll see, is to help our species avoid the Terminus. We have to find our way out from the shadow. Anyway, it's 1997 now, and Shannon has been called into a crime scene where a family has been murdered. Moss's cases tended to concern Naval Space Command sailors home on shore leave from deep waters, the Black Ops missions to deep space and deep time. Bar fights, domestic violence, drug charges, homicides. She had worked cases where NSC sailors had snapped and beaten their wives or girlfriends to death. Tragic occurrences, some sailors spiraling after seeing the terrors of the Terminus or the light of alien suns. She wondered what she would find here. But more than that, there's an unexpected personal connection. Not only is it in the neighborhood where she grew up, but it happened at the house where her childhood best friend used to live, before she too was murdered back in 1985. The house Moss remembered from her childhood was as if superimposed over the house as it stood, two films playing concurrently, a memory and a crime scene. As the memories rush back, she can't help think of her old friend as she looks over the grisly scene. One member of the family is missing, a young girl, kidnapped apparently, and perhaps still alive. But with no leads, there's only one avenue of investigation left, both to save the girl and to find the rogue operators behind a string of murders. All of the evidence points to a SEAL named Patrick Mersault, a man who was on, or at least should have, according to records, been on the USS Libra when it was lost. 2015, she has jumped ahead to find out anything she can about the case. Who is Mersault working with, and what are they planning to do? Why wasn't he on the Libra? And of great interest to her, where did they take the girl? Is there still a chance to save her back in '97? And here's where it really starts to stand out as cosmic horror. Sure, an incomprehensible entity bringing about an apocalyptic future complete with inverted crucifixions is one thing, but the future Moss travels to, being merely a quantum probability, is also dependent on the observer. By traveling forward, she forces possible futures to collapse into being. And more importantly, when she leaves, the future blinks out of existence, back into the frothing stew of probabilities. The entire world and everyone in it exists only because Shannon is there, and it will suddenly end when she leaves. Destruction not out of malice, but simply the nature of things, which creates risks for anyone traveling forward. I knew an agent once, had known her as a 24-year-old woman when she launched, and saw her a few months later, after she'd returned to terra firma, deteriorated with weariness and old age. She had been prisoned in her IFT by someone from the Department of Homeland Security, was kept as an inmate at Holman Supermax for over 50 years. We called what she endured becoming a butterfly in a bell jar, a present danger to agents working in deep time. Keep the traveler in that time and alive, and that time continues. Obviously, this is a cause of concern for the traveler, but where I think the cosmic horror aspect really kicks in is for the people in that possible future who know. The people that are involved with this secret space program. And especially anyone who actually captures and imprisons a traveler to prolong their own existence. Imagine knowing that your life, the lives of your family, the entire world you know, depends on some random person staying alive in a prison somewhere. You can prolong that life, and by extension your own, but they're going to die eventually. You can't escape, your kids have no future, you're all ghosts. Only one person is real, and it ain't you. But in these various possible futures, or ifs as they call them, inadmissible future trajectories. Inadmissible because the future was mercurial. The futures NSC traveled to were only possibilities stemming from the conditions of the present. She was prohibited against using evidence gleaned from a future to build a case for prosecution in the present because the future she observed might not ever occur. She gradually collects data points that, when reported back in 1997, helped them thwart future terrorist attacks, including one that involved a bomb at a Navy facility, triggering the release of sarin through the sprinkler system. Of course, such significant changes ripple through to probable futures. Every time she goes forward, things have changed. People she knew in that time have changed. People she could trust in one are a danger in another. And the terminus keeps getting closer. Until on a jaunt back to 2015 to follow new leads, on arrival she's greeted not by flight control, but by an automated system. All the ships are gone, the base is shut down, only a basic AI in case anyone should arrive from the past. But there's a recorded message left specifically for her. Return to terra firma, Shannon, right now, don't wait. As of this recording, July 2014, the terminus is marked at December 2017, and it might have come closer still by the time you see this recording. The Earth, humanity, there's no hope. I wonder if you'll see the white hole. I wonder if you're seeing it now. I wonder if you've arrived in the terminus. I wonder if you're alive. I wonder if I'm too late. Please go home, Shannon. Go home. The United States Navy has enacted Operation Saigon. We've evacuated. We will be gone. The entire NSC fleet will be gone, searching for other futures, other worlds. We will not return. Operation Saigon. This amuses me. But we were talking about a homicide. Shannon gradually uncovers various threads of a plot connecting the missing girl, the terrorist attacks, and the crewmen who should have died on the USS Libra, but who were instead walking around on Earth causing mischief. And two locations that keep coming up. A house that, however many times it changes hands, always seems to be the home of someone connected to the case. There's a Bit of a True Detective vibe at times. Sculptures, stag skeletons taken apart and refashioned with wire so they looked like men with antlers veined with copper. 4 of them hung from the trees by their ankles, arms spread wide, upside down crucifixions. Terminus, she thought. This guy knows the Terminus. The house was ramshackle, the roof sagging in like the place was melting. Moss followed Nestor up the front walk, a series of stone slabs half sunk in mud. A slew of rodents' bones near the front door, groundhogs and squirrels mostly. Deer skeletons were laid out in the grass to dry in the sun. And of an ultimately more peculiar bent, a white tree that Shannon has seen before. This place is in West Virginia. This was the same white tree, the same area of pines, the same river she remembered, she was sure of it. But it was off somehow, as if she were looking at a stage set of a place she remembered rather than the place itself. It was like I could see 100 of these trees, thousands, in every way I looked, in every direction, like the world receded from me. Some sort of quantum anomaly. Their time travel star drive tech can do that sometimes. Thin space, they call it, a region where possible futures intersect. The Navy takes over the site to keep randos from wandering in. Or out. And it's central to all of the various plots and incidents that unfold. But I'm going to stay on a concept level here rather than summarizing the winding plot, because where's the fun in getting the short version? The book is worth a read. But there are 2 approaches to the Terminus problem. One is to try and escape it, either through sending a few thousand people away from Earth on ships to hopefully restart human civilization somewhere else, which is a long shot. This isn't the Star Trek universe, where every star seems to have a habitable planet with a temperate zone just waiting for pioneers. The closest thing to an Earth analog they ever found is also where they found the Terminus, and it followed them back. There are transhumanists, too, represented most directly by an AI, a simulation of its creator running on nanotech. Dr. Driscoll wanted to exploit light as both particle and wave. He wanted to store consciousness in light and beam himself and all his friends away from this doomed Earth, beam them away from that dreadful Terminus. So long, fly away, fly away. He wanted to become immortal, I said, thinking of Nyoku, the pyramids, the wasteland. The immortals begged for death, the prison house of existence. He wanted everyone to become immortal, said the Driscoll simulation, still as Kasparov. But he never figured out the way. All the king's horses and all the king's men. He wasn't working on this alone, I said. Who did he work for? A conglomerate of interests, said the simulation. Phasal Systems, DARPA, the Naval Research Lab, NSC, that's Netwarcom now. That's why I'm keen to help you if I can. I'm hoping when you fly away to terra firma, you'll be able to prolong Dr. Driscoll's life, protect him so he can live longer, so he can keep discovering, maybe achieve transhumanism before the Terminus. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Another group is trying to prevent the Terminus from arriving in the only way they can, by preventing humans from discovering it in the first place. But you said they can't travel to the past. Yeah. Spoiler ahead. That is true, but it is also true that these possible futures, the ifs, are completely real to the ghosts that are living in them. The book hands us all the pieces right at the start. 1997 isn't the present at all. Terra firma, the objectively real time. Shannon isn't who she thinks she is. The world can be saved from the Terminus. But it leads to what, in some ways, is both the most terrifying and most relatable bit of horror in this story. Shannon's life was woven in with the Terminus. The Libra crew, her friend's murder, the plans to flee, to prevent it, all of it shaping the path of her life. A life filled with hardships, but also some really amazing things. That life was lived in a much larger world. Earlier in the book, she's musing on the time that her mother had gotten her an interview at the call center where she worked. She blew it off. That near miss of a career was one of the few true forks in the road she'd traveled. Fashionable to think of a multiverse consisting of infinite directions, infinite paths, but the forking paths weren't truly innumerable, she knew. There were only so many options available to most people, especially girls who grew up poor. Had she taken the job at the call center, she could have turned out just like her mother. She would have made a good alcoholic, she always thought. Call centers and bars and sleeping with whoever was willing to pay her tab for the night. Sometimes she thought of that lifestyle with disgust. Other times she found comfort in the daydream, wishing she could have just lived a regular life of men and stress and shit jobs. Which probably sounds pretty good if you're crucified head down over a frozen lake in a dead world while your limbs rot apart. And yet, everyone I have ever known has had moments of just pure existential dread at the thought of their equivalent of that ordinary life. Even people that were doing some pretty cool shit. Shannon fulfills so much potential, she literally saves the world. And in so doing, she negates the possibility of her having those opportunities. All just ghosts of possibilities. This is one of those books that uses a detective story to explore the implications of sci-fi concepts. I've avoided as much as possible the twists and turns of that story. Left out a lot of characters. There's a lot to discover in there if this little pulling on threads has been of interest. What really grabbed me is how it deals with the idea of a harsh and terrifying universe. Not because it hates you, but because you just don't matter. It has all the Lovecraftian dread spun through a crime story, a science fiction story, and a contemplation of our place in the cosmos. And it makes me want to cover some Lovecraft. I have my favorites, but where to begin?